What is up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We're back with another episode of the Team Building Podcast. We've got a great episode with you for you today because we've got a great guest who has essentially doubled his volume over 2016 to 2017, as well as doubling his team. We're going to talk about exactly how he's done it and kind of the journey that he's gone on. And so we've got Robbie Breaux with us today. Unfortunately, Jeff Cohn, the man, the myth, the legend, is not with us today. He is on a cruise, an incentive cruise, with some of the Omaha's elite agents, and so we're joined by Andy Cuny, the secondary man, the other myth and legend. I don't know what to call you, Andy. I got to make something up for you. Andy Cuny, what's up?
Hey, man, it's awesome to be here. And I don't really think that it's unfortunately that Jeff's not here. It might be fortunately that Jeff's not here, right?
For all of us.
Since Jeff's not here to defend himself, this is going to be a chance for everyone else to speak just a little bit more.
I know, but Jeff's like kicking butt. He's working out. He's losing weight. Like, what are we going to mock him for?
He is.
That's great.
He's down 40 pounds. He's down 40
awesome.
pounds in the last, 2 months. It's crazy.
And I think his goal, he had a big goal to be able to knock out, was it 100, if I remember that correctly?
Something like that, yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
pretty
Good
soon
for
I'm
him,
going to have to
man.
call him
That's
like String Bean or Stretch or something like that.
We're going to have to call him a zipper if he turns to the side, sticks his tongue out. It'll be great.
And we're off.
And we're off.
So, Robbie,
like
fill
he
people in.
can't
Just,
defend himself.
give people a sense of kind of where you're at and what your team looked like, I don't know, circa beginning of 2016, 2 years ago.
So beginning of 2016, we were a team of 5. I had myself, my wife, a full-time admin that is Amber, who's my right-hand lady. She's also licensed, and we had 2 buyer's assistants. So they've been with me for quite a while. And that particular year we did 135-ish transactions, right at 30 million, just a touch over 30 million. Been in the business, a lifelong resident of Lafayette, Louisiana, south center of the boot. I've been in real estate for about 12 years. I was an individual agent for 7, and then the idea of teams kind of came up, and been kind of dabbling that, trying to figure out the way. I'll probably jump in as sometimes I feel like I need to be on the one that's on the listening side of this podcast. So I'm very humbled to be here, first of all. So thank you all for having me.
Awesome.
So getting back at 2016 was a great year for us. We've been kind of in a down market, and we ended up hiring 4 new agents to jump in on our team. And last year, 2017, we had a great year. We had 237 transaction size for just over 57 million. So it was fantastic. So it's been a fun ride, and looking forward to this year.
What's the size of your
it's
team?
going to be a good one. Mm-hmm.
We are now a team of 10. We just recently hired a couple of months ago a second full-time assistant to help out with the transaction coordinator size. The team is, I am of the opinion that I want to give the agents their ability to list and sell their own properties. So nobody has their own specific role. I want them to be able to grow and not feel like they're limited and plugged into a hole. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way to do it, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. But I find that they like the challenge of being able to list their own properties, and they want that ability to be able to do that. And we want to give them all the tools in the toolbox to be able to do so.
Very cool. All right, and so I'm trying to trace back kind of at one point you really got turned on to the team concept, because Robbie, you and I met at, I think, Real Estate Success Rocks, Patrick Lilly's conference. I think it was when Jeff spoke there. And I don't know, was it that at that conference that you kind of got turned on to the team concept? Because Jeff did a keynote there, but were you already kind of aware of that and thinking about it before that?
I would say we had a buyer's agent at the time, and like I said, really kind of fumbling around and trying to figure it out on my own. And I've gone to conferences for as long as I've been in real estate, and part of it would be, I'd say, probably stubbornness and just doing it my own. And at the end of the day, there's so much knowledge out there from everybody that comes onto this podcast. There's a lot of knowledge out there. There's no sense in recreating the wheel. Andy gave me the analogy and the metaphor of just splitting the atom. Just find out what works for you, and using those nuggets that everybody else has, and put a piece of their information and plug it into your daily business. And that's what, me going to all these different conferences over the years has definitely helped out.
Yeah. And just I'll play devil's advocate for a second, because I know there's a lot of people that will listen to just the first part of what we've talked about and look at the numbers and go, okay, well, you doubled your volume, like roughly doubled your transactions, but you also doubled your agents. So, well, that means you went out and you found some other top producer or some producing agents and brought them onto your team. Is that really the way it went down, or are you working with predominantly newer agents?
We wanted to actually have agents that had been in the business for 2 years.
Okay.
Part of that, I've hired people in the past that were brand new, and I know other folks have done really well with hiring folks brand new, but we wanted people to kind of have the pain of not having the people to be able to talk to and basically give them the tools to be able to do so. So we had some people that were doing some pretty significant volume, but one of the cool things about our plugging them into our team, everybody that joined last year in 2016 made at least 20% more money than they did the previous year as an individual agent. Some of them even doubled. So,
Okay.
Basically we give them the tools, we give them the back end support with Amber and the marketing and all that. It's basically keys to the Ferrari, if you will. Plug them in and then let them run.
Very, very cool.
And of course, being able to hold them accountable. So, I'll give Andy and Jeff. They've done a fantastic job of giving us kind of a framework of how to structure our meetings. We structure a lot of our meetings Monday mornings at 8:15. Every Monday we do an accountability meeting, which goes through all of the calls and the contacts and the appointments set and the contracts written, contracts accepted, and being able to do that in public with everybody else staring at you. If somebody else doesn't hit their goal, it makes it a little bit tougher. So being out in front of everybody and knowing that it's out, know that other people are out there, and using the gecko board so they can constantly see where they're at without us having to drill down to beat on them, if you will. They do it to themselves within that public atmosphere through the team.
That is true, and Andy, you can speak to this a lot, but I was talking to a guy who does sales coaching for kind of a mix of agents and financial advisors and some mortgage and title people, and I was kind of sharing with them some of the things that I've noticed, and I'm sure Andy, you've noticed the same thing, which is you don't have to be a superstar at running those meetings. Like, the meetings themselves don't need to be groundbreaking. They don't need to be transformational. Nobody needs to walk on coal. Just the simple act of people knowing that I'm responsible for like 2 or 3 metrics, and I have to get up and say those in front of other people. There doesn't have to really be a lot more than that.
You're absolutely right. The act of having the meeting, right, is the most important act you can have. Right, just having the meeting where it's a spot where everybody gets together, like Robbie said, I'm going to have to get up and speak, and just giving them, like you said, Matt, a couple 2 or 3 metrics that they're going to have to track in front of the team keeps it top of mind throughout the entire week.
Yeah.
Right, and a lot of I will constantly be walking up and down the hallway, and I talk to somebody, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Nice to see you in the office today. And they're like, well, yeah, I got to get my calls in. Right? Or, hey, I got to get my contacts in. Or, hey, guess what? I got 2 appointments. I'm super excited. So I know it's top of mind just for the simple fact of it's in conversation constantly, right? And it's easy. It costs you nothing. And you know me, I'm a big proponent of do the free stuff, right? Do all the free stuff that you can do to help create that accountability. And everybody's got those tools to create the accountability. It's just doing it, right? That's the hardest part, is just doing it. Everybody always wants to know, well, I've got to, like Robbie said, I got to recreate the wheel for 60 minutes every Monday. No, you don't, right? Just get everybody in the same room and have an outline of what it is that you'd like to discuss and accomplish, and let it go from there.
Yeah, I like to make the kind of the running joke. Nobody wants to sit in a meeting that could have been knocked out in an email. We don't need to go over everything and hammer stuff out for an hour when you can knock everything out in 20 minutes. So going and having everybody say their metrics, run through everything that they've got going, anything new that's coming up, and then we'll follow up with on Thursdays, do something that's productivity training to be able to help them sharpen the tools that are in their tool chest to be just a little bit better than they were the week before. So, and in addition, Andy's been really awesome about getting the framework setting up for us for our one-on-one meetings. We do 15 minutes every week, and for us, it was about what to talk about, what to be consistent with, how do we help them, and how do we dig a little bit deeper into their Boomtown or Commissions Inc. or Tiger Leads or whatever your lead gen platform happens to be. How can you make them a little bit better and hold them a little bit more accountable to what's going on? So that's been a huge help. And then talk about whatever rocks are in their shoe to be able to help them get through that deal that's giving them all kind of problems or whatever that happens to look like. So, and making it consistent every week. So,
Yeah,
you
that's
said the
so
magic
huge.
word.
Yeah, consistent.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And that's the thing is accountability is it's a partnership, right? And you've got to make sure that they understand that, right? There's too often people want to frame it as, oh, you're getting sent to the principal's office, right? 15 minutes a week, I got to go in and I got to talk to the boss. Nope. These 15 to 20-minute meetings every week, they are accountability meetings, and it's a partnership. They explain to you what they want, what goal they want to reach, where they want to get with their, not only their business, but their personal life. And then it is your job as the leader, right? We're doing almost twice as much work, right, to get ready for that 20-minute meeting, because when they come in there, I got to show them how I can help them get there, right? And that's on me as a leader. And a lot of times, the first thing I'll tell a leader to do is, well, look in the mirror and find out what can you offer as value, right? It's easy just to crack the whip and yell at somebody, but then, you know what, you can spend all your time and money on retention, right, and recruiting and bringing new people. It's a really big testament to, obviously, to Jeff and just our team here, is how we're able to grow in size every year and retain. We have agents who have been on our team 5 or 6 years, right?
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, and Robbie, I know that you're doing the same thing, and I can tell when you got that clarity, right? Because I can tell when your questions start to change.
Yes.
Like, instead of what to do, and then it's how to do, and right, and then how to do better. So that's awesome.
Well, it's interesting, Andy, that you mentioned that, like the two-sided part of this, because it is 100% true, and I don't think a lot of leaders think of it this way, but when you schedule up a consistent meeting where people are reporting in to you, especially like Robbie in your case, where I think you're physically getting people together in an actual space, and I know this is the same for Jeff and the team there in Omaha. I mean, it's very, and you know, not everybody might agree with this analogy, but it's very similar to running a church or running any other type of organization where you have people that are looking to you for leadership. It forces you as the leader to then think about what you want to say to them that they need to hear for that week. Greg Harrelson is a genius at this. I mean, we did a recording session here last week where he was just going through some of the things that were on his mind that he was talking to his team about, and I would. At some point, he needs to offer that as like something. Like, he needs to let people in on that, because what he does is he shows up every week to his accountability call with his agents, and he has something specific, some 10 or 15-minute thing that he wants to speak on that he knows they need to know and needs to absorb at that point in time. And the more that you schedule like those consistent meetings with your agents and they're expected to give something to you, it forces you to think about, okay, how do I serve them? And Andy, that's exactly what you're talking about, the two-way accountability partnership.
Absolutely right. Every 20-minute meeting that I have with every agent, I have a mirrored scheduled time in my time block where I'm spending 20 minutes on that agent, figuring out what I can do to help them get to where they need to get, so that when I show up to that meeting, there's value there. I've spent time on them. I'm thinking about them outside of just that 20 minutes that I see them. Right? And I got to
That's really interesting. So run that by me again, just to clarify. So for every 20 minutes that you have blocked out on the calendar when you're actually meeting with an agent, you have a mirrored time on your calendar that's just set aside for you to think and prepare for that session?
Yep. So pretend Robbie's an agent on my team, and I have a 20-minute meeting with Robbie at 11:20 every Monday morning. I probably will have him later in the week, Thursday, where I'll have the exact time block, 20 minutes, Robbie Breaux, and I'll be working on, okay, what's Robbie doing right now? And I'll also use that time to probably reach out to him via text, maybe a Facebook, you know what I mean, for the agents on our team. And I'll say, hey, how are things going? Hey, I know we talked about this Monday. Did you get that done? Where are you at with that? How'd that go? Whatever it was. And then I'm thinking, what value am I going to bring to that meeting next Monday at 11:20? You know what I mean? To make sure that we can take it the next step. You've got, it's I don't know, professors call it office hours, right? Therapists call it planning time. You know, teachers, curriculum writing. It's all the same stuff. You've got to have time. It doesn't do any good for me just to show up and be like, oh, yeah, where are we at, right? You've got to be intentional, and I know we use that term a lot, but you've got to be intentional about it. And so it really forces me, just like if I'm going to run the team meeting on a Monday because Jeff's out of town, meeting is about an hour long, I spend about 45 minutes getting ready for that meeting, right, to make sure that I'm adding value to the team. So, yeah, absolutely, you got to do that.
Andy, you had a great little writer-downer right there. It's super important to, and this is something I could definitely work on too, is reaching out to them in the middle of the week for things that they had committed to. Say, hey man, where are you from this? If we had our meeting on Monday, man, it's following up, and they have a chance to be able to jump back in and have that. So, folks out there listening, write that down.
Follow up and the soft touch is huge.
Another little tidbit that he's given us too is when we're talking about all the free stuff, we like to do shout outs via group text on our team. We're a group of 10. So when somebody puts it out on when somebody puts something under contract, we put a little shout out to everybody, and everybody gets the hoorah and congrats and all that fun stuff. And it's good to get some positive feedback going on, because all of the other craziness that's going on with your buyers and sellers aggravated about this, that, and the other. It's nice to have something positive coming back to you, and it doesn't cost anything. So, I find it helps out quite a bit.
Very cool. So Robbie, take me back. I know that the initial kind of catalyst for all this was Amber going to the workshop, and so she actually came, I think, by herself or something. She actually came to the workshop, and then I think you ended up attending as well. But the real catalyst was her coming through, and then you guys jumped on the live stream kind of platform and jumped into that. And so, how long have you guys been working together, and what was the initial? Well, tell me first of all, how long ago was that, and then we'll kind of fit it into the story here.
So Amber and I have been working together for 5 years. She jumped into actually, let me backtrack a little bit. One of her favorite, and every probably admin across the country that works with a real estate team could probably say this, the team leader, and somebody else may go take off to a conference, and we've got all these big ideas, and guess who gets to get just spat on from left and right, this, that, and the other, from all these crazy ideas, and it ends up putting out like, oh, look, the admin can do it. But Jeff and them had offered a workshop specifically for admin. So Kevin kind of led that up to see what that looks like on the back end. And I think Amber and Kevin both share a love for spreadsheets, and I got to watch that. But what was really cool is it gave them kind of a framework of how to do what the admin are supposed to do, because we've got all these crazy ideas and we're throwing these things out there, but how do we put that into a framework? And she came back and basically did what I've done to her for years and years and years.
I love it.
She's like, payback is great, and I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it worked out really cool, man. And that actually spawned the topic of, I want to say it was September, October, something like that, of 2016, and that's what spawned the topic of, hey, let's send out an email we actually sent out an email to the entire association of, we are hiring. We've got a pretty good footprint over in the Lafayette market. We've consistently been one of the top teams in Acadiana, and when we sent that out, we had a great response back to everybody. People are thinking about what's going on for the new year, if they're making change, if it's if a new company or a new team or whatever that happens to look like. And we got a great response out of that letter that we sent out to everybody. And we hired four great people, and it worked out really well. So that's actually what spawned the growth of the team, and then we ended up jumping in for the workshop. My wife and Amber and I all took off to Omaha and got to hang out with you guys, and the rest is kind of in history.
Going back to intention, so initially the intention was just we've got more leads than we can handle. We want to grow. Let's see what happens, and then you end up hiring 4 people. What was the intention? What was the goal going into 2017? Were you planning to double? Was that something that happened as a result of the people that you brought on, or was that your intention to double in volume?
The intention was to get, we had, the 2 agents that we had, they had more leads than they knew what to come up with, and we were planning on having, maybe 2 people pop up to be able to help with some of that lead flow. And we ran into a wonderful problem of a whole bunch of people applying and a lot of really great fits that would, we are very defensive of our culture. I want to have people that want to be there and want to be part of the team and want to be and support everybody else. And that was super important for everybody. We want to get along. I mean, at the end of the day, we spend most of our life, we spend more time with the folks that we work with than we do sometimes our own kids. Because I know I work a lot of crazy hours, and I see everybody else over here. I want to like the people that I work with. So we were very intentional on the way we hired. We made it. We went through a 3-step interview process. So it's they would meet with Heather and Amber, my wife and Amber. They would meet up with them. We'd have a second one, and then the third one would be with the 3 of us when we talked about everything. So, but very intentional to where it's not like, hey, please come to me. We want people that want to be here and want to work to get there. Much like Jeff, in the Omaha Elite team.
Awesome. Well, Andy, what was your impressions and what were some of the things that you felt like Robbie put in place that contributed to all of this?
Well, I think the number one thing was he started to become very intentional about what it is that he wanted to do, right? Everybody always says, I want to double my numbers, I want to double the size of my team, I want to crush it, right? I want to kill it. And he came back, and I know that he spoke about it just now, was that recruiting. Is he understood the value of the culture that he already had, because his team was pretty small, right? Yeah. And everybody likes everybody, and I'm telling you, one bad apple can kill that, right? It's so expensive to have a bad hire. And I love the fact that he had these lofty goals, but yet, and he had all these people that wanted to join his team, right? Just by sending out the hiring email and just getting into it, that he still pumped the brakes and was serious about who it is he wanted to hire. Because, I mean, we've interviewed a lot of agents, and it's very tempting that you want to grow your team, you want to make money, all this stuff, and then you have people knocking down your door to get in. And how many of them, right, have the foresight to really say, whoa, I'm really going to do this the right way, right? Yeah. And I think one of the pieces that he probably implemented was that, and I know that we hammered that, right, when at the workshop, we're like, it's expensive to make a bad hire, man. Make sure that you're taking the right steps and protect culture at all costs. And it sounds like he's done a wonderful job of doing that.
You know what's funny, kind of adding on to that, the volume and the sides and the money, all that follows when everybody likes each other. You can have a stud, but if they're killing everything else on the inside, people don't want to go into the office. So while you've got one person that's climbing up, you got a whole bunch of other folks that are going down, and you just don't need that. We want to be happy when we come to work, and it's been real rewarding to watch everybody be able to grow too. So that's another really neat thing we've implemented. Kind of jumping back on, and we'll dip back into the accountability side. Vision boards for the team for the year. When you're setting goals, it's not necessarily how many units you want to do, how much money you want to make. That's all great. Jeff mentioned wanted to lose a bunch of weight and having action plans attached to that. How can we support everybody else on some of the other things, whether it's family goals, vacation goals, whatever that looks like, and us as the leaders being able to help them achieve their goals that they made, not the goals that we made. So it's, when you got the principal, what the metaphor we talked about before, when the principal's harping on you about you didn't do this, that, or the other, it was your goals that you made and you want us to help you. And this is what we want to do. We want to be able to help you hit those goals, whatever they happen to be, that align with the family life you've got going on at home.
Yep. And the two things there. One is I want to jump back real quick to talk about, I'm going to use a sports analogy because Matt loves those. Is when he's talking about, Robbie was talking about, you may have a guy on your team or a lady on your team who's a rock star, right? And she's crushing it with the units, he or she's crushing it with the units, but they're a culture killer, right? And I always equate it to, I got that guy on my basketball team who averages 30 points, right, a game, but he plays no defense, right? And it's always weird how the teams seem to go off, the guy goes off that he's guarding. Or do I take that guy, so he scores 30, but he gives up 35. Is that helping me? Right? Or do I have that team player, right, who maybe puts up 15 points a game but shuts the other guy down? Which one, right? Which one is the one that I want on my team, right? And you've got to think about it. And I know that the numbers and all that are going to be very tempting, right? And sometimes you have to fail forward and you just got to see it and deal with it yourself, right, before you'll listen. Just like a lot of the agents don't see the value of joining a team until they've been out there and know how hard it is to create business on their own. And then, like Robbie said, hey, you know what, if you've gone through a few pitfalls, you've struggled a little bit, and then you join my team, you'll be able to appreciate all the value that I'm offering, right? And then that gets them on board. So that was the only sports analogy that I'll throw at you today, man. I know you love them.
That's too bad, man. I could go deep on the different trajectories of Golden State and Oklahoma City.
No, I know. It's like the perfect example.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. All right, Robbie, so let's dip into this. We've got some powerhouse people that have been watching off and on throughout the show, everybody from Mark Martin to Buddy Blake, Dan Hamilton out in South Carolina. So I know there's probably a lot of people that are curious, that kind of watching the whole virtual brokerage phenomenon either from a distance or maybe some of them from the inside. I mean, Greg McDaniel, my co-host on my main show, Real Estate Uncensored, just switched over his entire team to EXP. And Robbie, you made the jump over to EXP. I'm just curious kind of what's been your experience and why? What was the main driver?
Well, it's kind of twofold. I think we started about a week ago, so it's been a wild ride so far. So one of the things that actually kind of drove us was the real estate industry as a whole is kind of taking a similar path to the Blockbusters versus Netflix, and the the bookstores over to Amazon, and Amazon to everything else in the world, where you can get everything online. And where can you lower your costs for things that are out there, whether it's training or technology or lead gen or all the tools that are out there? How can you help lower those costs to be able to run a more profitable business? And the most one of the most expensive things that are out there are the brick and mortar rent. That's a huge expense, and everything ends up working itself on the cloud. With EXP, that was one of the nice little drivers. The other side of that was, we've got a way to potentially zero base or get another passive income side through revenue share from the recruiting model that happens to come up. So where the expenses that you do have, you've got the ability to be able to decrease those or zero base those, or possibly even turn it to where you're making a profit, not having any expenses at all. And that was huge, based on being agent owners with as stockholders. So as the company performs, and I think as of today, it was up to $10.60. I bought stock in the lower twos several months ago when we first started kind of kicking this thing around. It's pretty awesome to see how fast this company's growing from a national, even global perspective at the moment. And big teams around. There's a shift moving on, and there's a reason for it. And we're looking forward to this year. I think it's going to be a cool one.
Well, and I think one of the key questions that a lot of agents in your position would have, and of course I've got, we're dealing with the same things, or planning for the same kinds of questions that will come up, which is the culture part of it. So how do you preserve the culture when you don't have a physical space, or maybe you do have a physical space where you bring people to, but how have you dealt with that, and how do you encourage your agents to be productive when you don't have that brick and mortar space that they have to show up to?
Well, we're I wish I could tell you I've got all the answers for that. One of the things that we're really intentional about is having our own space. I come from a great company that was 200 agents strong, but we wanted our own space to maintain our own culture for our own team and have our own people, and everything that's going on have the vibe that we wanted to maintain and defend. And having that spot, this is just one of the little avenues that popped up. So we got a nice size little office for our team, and the ability to grow some of those, be able to grow that team with the space for expansion and set up for that route for the team size. Because I still feel like people meeting face to face for teams, it's super important for everybody to be on the same page and still be able to add the value for that. Team members come to be on a team to have help, to have leads, to have support, to have marketing, to have admin, to back-end support, all that fun stuff. And on EXP, you've got a lot of that help. Amber's got a lot of that help through the cloud with SkySlope, which is an additional it's a transaction manager for those folks that don't know, which is part of your technology fees that are attached, which is way cheaper than it would be if I were to go hire it out on our own. And more tools for the tool chest. We always talk about the one with the most arrows as the better shot to make the kill. So doesn't mean there's a golden one in there, but I like my chances with more arrows than I do with one.
Very cool. Andy, I'm curious what your opinion is on the whole virtual brokerage thing.
You know what? We obviously like it because we understand obviously the accountability aspect of it, and Robbie touched on it, right? And that's hard to do. It's not hard. It's a different model, right, for the accountability. And it's something that we obviously understand already with Elite Real Estate Systems. I have a 15-minute call every week, right, with every single one of our clients that we do with, and it's a coaching call, but it's also an accountability call. Being able to speak to every person every week, and then obviously we believe in it, and we believe it's possible because we do all of our training, right, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, no matter the topic, we do it all virtual, right? We broadcast it out. And now, obviously, for our team here in Omaha, you can come in, see it live. We've noticed that when we just did it in person, no cameras, we get about 10 to 15 people, right, to come to each training. and we had about, I don't know, 30 to 40 at the time agents on the team. Well, now we're getting 30 to 40 of our 50 agents on the team are not physically showing up, but they're watching it online, right? So we, just for that simple act of actually giving it to people to view it virtually, we're getting twice as many people on our team actually participating in the trainings. So obviously we're a big believer in it. It's really helped our team here in Omaha. I know that for sure.
Awesome. Well, going back to expanding the team, Robbie, why don't you share with people kind of how, like, if they're listening and they're in Louisiana or they know some agents that are kind of in your area, where Lafayette is at and how they can reach out and connect with you if they or themselves or someone in their circle is interested in potentially joining you.
Well, our office number is 337-267-4099. Comes over to us. That's our direct line there. You can always email me, Robbie at RobbieBreaux.com. I'm available all the time. Much too probably too available sometimes, but that's another
right. Andy, work on that with
for
him.
another day.
You just made a big. We need to have a call.
Yeah, exactly. Never say you're available all the time. Come on. All right. And then Andy, you guys have got a workshop coming up in Omaha, correct?
Yeah, we got actually 2 workshops coming up. We have I know that February 19th is our one for February, and then I believe it is the 22nd in January, and I know the 22nd is coming up in about a week and a half, but the February one obviously about a month and a half out, and we are running a discount for those 2, January and February. So it's $14.97 to come out to the workshop. Come out to Omaha. It's a full day on a Monday. You get to actually sit in on our team meeting, our team accountability meeting, and then you get to spend the entire day with me, Jeff, and Kevin going over all the different topics. And then that $14.97 not only gets you here, but it also allows you to bring a guest as well. So you can bring an agent on your team, bring your admin, send your admin like Robbie did, but you might as well just come because
I will tell you that was an absolute game changer for me. And most of it is having buy-in not only from my wife and I. We make the decisions on everything, but having Amber, who's also really heavily ingrained in some of the decisions that are out there. When you have buy-in from them and helping out with some of the decisions that are going on, it makes the goal setting and the vision and the focus that much better. And I'll tell you, there was a ton of knowledge when we went over to Omaha that was in the room. They had some really heavy hitters out there that were doing 200, 300, 400 transactions a year, and all coming out to learn just a little bit more. I think that the neat thing about the atmosphere that's over there is that everybody as big of a star in their markets is always looking to learn a little bit more. What can you pick up? What can you use? What can you make that's a little bit different? And Jeff and Andy and Kevin did a phenomenal job of setting the framework. I mean, there was more information in that 1 day period. We've had to be pretty intentional about taking those action plans out there and knocking out. And while it sounds somewhat crazy, we had great success. There's a ton of stuff that's left that's on there, almost to the fact we need to go back 1 to 2 more times or more. So, and it's on the radar for us to be able to do it. And it's something that's going to be planned. We just got to get this office move kind of fizzled out, but we definitely plan on spending a lot more time with them, because I can't tell you guys enough that are looking out there. They've been phenomenal and instrumental in helping us grow.
That's awesome.
Right.
Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Cool. All right, guys. So that's as far as how to connect. Just go to eliterealestatesystem.com. That is the way not only to connect with the workshop and learn more about that, but also about the live stream program that Robbie is a part of, where he gets that 15-minute call that Andy referred to. You can also check out the podcast. All the back episodes are there. If you like the podcast and you want to get it on your mobile device, that is very easy. Go to iTunes or Stitcher or your favorite podcast app and subscribe so that you get the latest episodes delivered right to your phone. Robbie, quick question for you from the audience, the peanut gallery here. Josh West asks, are you using Boomtown?
Yes, I am. We switched in let's say March or April, I believe. I was with I feel like I've tried them all. Mm-hmm. I've gone from Tiger Leads. We went to Commissions Inc. for a while. We're currently with Boomtown. We're super satisfied with them. I love to be able to go back onto the back end statistics to see who people are calling, how many times they're calling, emails, texts, all that fun stuff. So it's been It's been a great instrument to use. Now, that being said, the instrument is only good as the way you manage it. So if you're not making calls, every lead generation system is terrible. So it's just how it is. So
that's true.
You know, you'll get a couple of unicorns that pop in and want to go buy a great priced home, you know, that want to see it right now. I mean, that's going to happen from time to time. But the magic is in the touches, and the magic is in the following up with the people that you've already spoken to, and staying on top and having a plan about staying on top of those buyers, so they don't call on anybody else. Because nowadays everybody's talking to everybody. So if you're not intentional and you're not adding value to that client, they will walk away because there's nothing that you offer them, even because you're just nice.
Yeah.
So
couldn't have said it any better, Robbie.
Value.
Right. All right, guys. Well, that is all the time that we have. We've got a couple more questions. So, Robbie, if you have time to check out the Facebook comments later, you can. There's a couple questions from Flip and Josh that we are not going to be able to get to live because it's too in depth, and maybe worth reaching out to Robbie directly about that as well, guys. So, again, thank you so much, everybody that's watching and listening live. We had a lot of heavy hitters that were watching this episode, so I know they got not only did they get a ton of value out of it, but hopefully everyone that watched or listened did. And if you are, just keep an eye out for future episodes. We're basically live every Wednesday morning right here on Facebook around the same time, and we're either interviewing and mastermind with people like Robbie that are doubling their business, or we're talking to some of the top team leaders, operations people, and sales managers across the country. So we've got more and more great episodes to come, guys, so stay tuned. Andy, Robbie, thank you guys so much.
Man, thank you so much for having us. We had a great time.